No worries.
Welcome to The Music Reel. I'm your host, Nicola Burton. Today I'm speaking with Michael Stangel, music artist, producer, artist manager, and he's also the candidate for Kardinia, currently running for the Greater Geelong City Council election. Michael, it is a pleasure to have you on the show today. How are you going?
Good. It's great to finally meet you.
Great to meet you. Now, let's just start. You are in Victoria right now.
Yes, unfortunately for me.
In your, what is it, 14th week of lockdown?
I think it's the 14th week. After about 6 weeks, you forget how many weeks it is. They all drop. But look, I'm a bit luckier than the people living in Melbourne. I'm in Geelong, so I'm in regional Victoria.
Oh.
It's not as bad, but still, there's a sense in the community that it's something I've never experienced before. It's just terrible. It's just terrible what's going on. And it's, from the challenges I've had in my life before with some cancer diagnosis, things like that, you feel like you don't have time to waste. And, having to sort of sit out of life in its normal format for a period of time can be frustrating. But look, we're doing well. I don't think it's going to be long now before we can maybe open up a border and get back to some sort of normal.
Well, you guys are amazing because we're sitting up here in the Sunshine State really feeling for you because it's just surreal to see that you guys have endured this. But kudos to you because you have survived. Whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right?
Well, you would have to think that, but our mighty Cats are going to win the premiership tonight, and you're only meters away from there.
I don't know anything about that. That's like Manny will know all about that. Sorry, I'm just going to go yay. Will that help?
It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt if you say yay.
All right. Well, let's start with this post that you put on Facebook yesterday, which really caught my attention.
Sure.
You were talking about the Victorian Commission for Gambling and Liquor Regulation, who said that live music is not allowed in venues. Now, obviously, you went down through some rabbit holes with this. Can you tell me all about this and then what you discovered as a result of that?
Sure. Well, look, as running for a candidate for council, I thought, well, here's my opportunity to practice what I'm trying to preach. So there was a post that was put on the internet earlier that day by a venue in Ballarat. It's called the Piano Bar, and they have venues in Geelong, Ballarat, and Bendigo, and a whole heap of things where they were given a notice that they couldn't open for trading this weekend. And they were kind of puzzled by this, and they couldn't get any real definition of as to why. And again, I'm only going to speak to what I think. So if anybody else has a different opinion, that's fine. But it all comes down to the definition of a word, which is ancillary. So that is, they could operate, but only with things that are sort of really connected to their primary purpose. So if you're a pub down here in regional Victoria, well, obviously a bottle shop is really paramount to you operating. Serving food is really, an important part, serving alcohol. But live performance was it really essential? And so there was really no definition around it. And somebody had decided to send a notice to this venue in Ballarat to say, look, you can't have live music this weekend, which, I saw that post and I thought, because I do know the guys at the Piano Bar who run it, and I thought, I've got to share this. This is an outrage. And I said, I just put on the top of the post, let's get vocal about this because this is ridiculous. This can't be true. Like our cases down here are lower than New South Wales right now. And a guy sitting in a corner with an acoustic guitar, what's the danger there? As long as we're, because we have very strict COVID protocols down here that, I must say, look, I actually did a gig on Geelong Cup on Wednesday and people were so well behaved. Everybody's, if you're in Queensland, it'd be hard to imagine. We're all wearing masks all the time. So when you are seated at the table, you can take your mask off to have a drink and eat. But when you want to get something from the bar, you have to put your mask back on and then walk back to the table. And the thing that's really surprised me was this has become the norm. It's, like you'll swear, oh, where's my bloody mask? But then you think about it's like something out of a science fiction movie. You know what I mean? It's become the norm. So, in that way, when this proposal or this venue was told that, it kind of become the norm. People go, oh, well, I suppose we can't have live music anymore. And I just thought, well, no, I'm going to dig a bit deeper down this rabbit hole. So I called the DHHS and I called the Liquor Commission as well. And they both said to me, that's correct, you can't have live music. So, you know, after posting that, I had a lot of friends of mine in the industry, you know, contacts, hey, is this true? And is that true? And I said, look, I'm really looking for definition. I've got a good friend of mine that's a barrister. So I asked him to, look, can you read through some of this stuff and give me a hand? Because, you know, in law, it's all about the definition of a word. So a good friend of mine, Jenny Moon, who owns a production company down here, decided this isn't good enough. And she, I must say, you know, credit to her, she was the one that really went into fight. And the AHA, which is the Association of Hotels down here in Victoria, went into bat to say, no, live music is an integral part of what we do. And so they were in a meeting, I think, for 16 hours, you know, trying to say, look, this isn't right. You know, what's the premise for this? And again, I'll park that to one side and put this to another side. There was a rumor getting around that some venue in country Victoria had breached the rules, and, you know, DHHS said, well, look, if there's one venue is going to do it, we have to ban it for all, which has been the theme down here in Victoria that we've been really struggling with, because, you know, I really feel sorry for Dan Andrews and the government down here, because I do think that they've been trying to do their best, but they have made some mistakes. And it's the way that they've dealt with their mistakes that has created this real adversarial approach, where now Victoria is divided into two camps. It's like, I stand with Dan, and the protesters saying, you know, our civil liberties, it's too much. And it's become quite militant as well. So when you go, when I put that on Facebook, you know, there was some posts there saying I should withdraw my candidacy for council, and, you know, hashtag fake news, and, you know, don't say this, it's not true. And of course, you know, my nature as a musician is to like, right, I'll answer that. And my wife said, no, you're trying to run for politics now. You can't answer anything. So I just had to let it all go. And then a few people who are friends of mine started to stick up and put posts, and, you know, and it became this, I mean, almost like it was a monster out of my control. And then at about 10 o'clock last night, I got an email from Jenny saying this is okay to post, where they had actually just changed the terminology, and they put live music back into an ancillary. So as long as they were serving food and people were sitting at the table, so you're allowed to have a table of 10 people. And in a venue, you can only have a maximum inside of 40 people. So you can have 4 tables of 10 people. And I think outside, and it's all going to be changing this Sunday, but outside you can have 70 people in the same kind of rules. So it was really about the term, in my opinion, of the definition of what ancillary actually means, what's important to that venue. So they put out a press statement, and I posted on social media saying that live music is a part, as long as all the other protocols have been heard. And of course, all the naysayers haven't really apologized, which they wouldn't. And I don't really expect them to. That's fine. But it's the mood of down here in Victoria. Everybody's so edgy and jumpy, and, you know, if you protest, you're this evil person. You got your opinion. I mean, I personally think that protesting is probably a waste of time. But the best way to spend your time is going, okay, I don't like this, so I'll get on the phone, I'll make a post, I'll try and get to the bottom of why is this happening, and if you can't explain it to me, you know, the first thing I always say is, look, I'm not that smart, so if you give me all this jargon, I won't understand. As a you know, constituent in my greater city of Geelong, can you speak to me in a language that I understand? And often that's when they're like deers in a headlight. They go, oh, what do you mean you don't understand? Look, I'm sorry, I don't understand. So the dumber that you are, the more they have to make an effort to try and say, look, you can play your guitar in the corner, just you have to wear a mask when you get off, and you know, don't let anybody come and sing on your mic.
Great strategy.
So that was the strategy. That was a long-winded version of what happened. And I'm sure there'll still be lots of people going, it was never true anyway. And, you know, what you were saying. But, you know, I found that it's disturbing to me that down in Victoria that, you know, we've been able to have, we're not in a state of disaster. We're in a state of catastrophe, giving the government these sweeping laws where they can actually make laws up whenever they want. And of course, you know, musicians and the music industry have always been the pirates, you know, like we're They're sort of like swashbuckling here, right into town and do a gig and right out of town. And, we're the good time guys. And so we've really been on the receiving end of a lot of these policies that have really decimated the music industry down here. And I've heard a lot of people, like where you're up in Queensland, a lot of the media isn't really telling the story accurately of how oppressed we are down here. But the strange thing is, like, we want to get rid of this coronavirus as well, so we want to be philosophical in a way, going, look, we understand we have to do it. But, I think today the 14-day average was like 5.5 cases.
Nothing.
It's less than New South Wales.
Yeah, it's nothing.
You can't just keep us in lockdown like this because as a political thing. You have to let us out. And if it barks up again, well, then, we need to come back. And the whole reason that we went into lockdown, and this was, we were told that it was because we didn't want to overwhelm our health system.
Yeah.
And, last time I checked, there was nobody on a respirator and 5 people in hospital and nobody in intensive care. So the goalposts have changed. And of course, when the goalposts change, that's when people get cranky. And that's what's happening down here.
Oh, look, I'm so glad that you've expressed all of that, because we don't know. We only see, like you said, we only see what's in the media. And for us, we opened up 17th of July. And I got to tell you, only 10% of our industry is back in Queensland.
Yeah, right.
We're supposed to be open. So a pub and a club can have between 60 and 100. Yet tomorrow at the grand final, they can have 35,000 people.
Yes.
And you've got venue managers that if someone dances, they get charged $6,000 fine. But you can dance at a wedding, you can dance at a school formal, but you can't dance at a venue. So there's a lot of inequity, a lot of things that don't make sense. But of course, we have an election coming up. So that could be part of it. We don't know. But I think, no matter what I say, you are in a far worse position than we are. And I think you should write a song calling it Ancillary, because that kind of describes the way that people look at our industry. For, anyway, when Josh Frydenberg says, well, we can't save every business when JobKeeper is starting to reduce, but our industry is not back. I think let's talk about what you think the government needs to do for our industry so we are not facing this extinction level event.
Yeah, you're exactly on the money. And the other thing I'd add to that was, the nature of the music industry is that there's a lot of people that exist on the outer edge of, are we doing this correctly? Are you, are you invoicing correctly? Are you this? Are you that? Which is, everybody knows the music industry has always been like that. I mean, there's no cashy jobs or anything like that anymore. But none of these people are being, how could I say, disenfranchised by this, are rich. They're living hand to mouth anyway, and they're not they're not the big cats. They're not the ones that are going to send people poor. They're just artistic people. I mean, the whole point of being an artistic person is your mind is not predisposed to think about how am I going to get my taxi on time. Your mind is, how am I going to write the next great lyric? How am I going to learn this lick? How am I going to get the band together? That's what we're designed for. And, I don't think enough value is placed on how much that is. I mean, I've spent a lot of time in America, and it's extremely different the way they treat artistic people in America as they do in Australia. Now, I don't know if it's a cultural thing or it's just, but it's a very frustrating thing, especially if you're a young artist trying to do the best you can. And, especially now you're just hitting brick walls and, everywhere you turn, it's terrible.
Well, Tony Burke said in July, you got to make some noise, get it out there. And even today, Guy Sebastian even called the government on it, saying, look, we did that whole thing in August and still there's no money happening. Yep. So I guess I'd like to know from you, how do we prevent ourselves from becoming this acceptable collateral damage as an industry? What do we need to do? So from a musician point of view, from an industry point of view, from a peak body point of view, what do you think what avenues are open to us to make sure we're not collateral damage?
Okay. Well, look, this is my opinion, and it's kind of, it's a difficult one for me to express because I'm not really that big on unionism and militant unions and things like that. But I'm old enough to remember that, back in the 70s, there was a very strong musicians union. And if a publican or a pub did anything wrong, they had their alcohol, they couldn't get alcohol. And musicians were protected in that kind of way. And unfortunately, over time, and I don't really know why, that was eroded away to the point where it become, this adversarial thing between, venue owners and musicians, who musicians often felt like they were, just an imposition. It's like, I'm not going to give you that much money because, you don't bring any people anyway. And I think it's got a bit to do with technology as well. Like back when I was young, you were defined by what band you liked. Were you into Led Zeppelin, or were you into some other band, and that defined who you were. But today you're defined by what video game do you play, or who's your favorite YouTuber. So the focus has gone away from music with the youth. But it's amazing that, people who are into music, young people, they're probably more fanatical than we were as kids, So I think that has an element to do with it. How do you fix that? Well, you make music more attractive and make it more accessible to people so that they can get back into knowing. I mean, a lot of young people don't even know when they see a quality live act or not. If it's been, validated by, I saw that on TV, then therefore they must be good, Look, I just did another podcast today, and I said, gets back to that old term of punters. People go, well, what's a punter in got to do with entertainment? Well, I remember back in the old days in Melbourne, people used to, there was a phrase, you go, oh, let's go down to the Espy and take a punt on that band, or let's go down this pub and we'll take a punt if they're any good. Oh, they're crap, so let's leave there. So the term punters was born. So now a crowd, they call them, how many punters are you going to get in? Because people take a punt. But, that's what you need to do. You need to make it attractive. And in some way, closing our borders, I think, could work to our advantage, because as you remember back in those, when Australian music was so strong, Australian artists were actually doing cover versions of hit songs, and nobody even knew they were cover versions. They just thought and they become stars. And we had TV shows like Countdown and things like that, where, local musicians could be seen on TV, and it created that excitement in the community where people were so excited to see, oh my God, and they're accessible, where now, they're not excited unless they see Beyonce. Good luck to Beyonce, but, we're not going to, like, to try and keep up with that has been very difficult. But now the Australian music industry has an opportunity, like at the grand final that's coming up, it's all Australian artists. That's fantastic. Why isn't it always Australian artists? When was the last Australian artist to perform at the Super Bowl? Has there ever been one? I don't think there has, so
Yeah.
All those things, I hope, come back, and we really strengthen up in the arts sector, the Australian art sector, and the business that is the Australian, talent industry, not just music.
I think, look, what you're saying is absolutely true. It's an opportunity for us to really sort of rebuild our Aussie market, with our incredible talent that we've got here. But I want to talk to you about this candidacy.
Yep.
You've got this Teams platform. I'd love to hear about that. Now, the elections are on this week, aren't they?
Yeah, well, they've been on for a while, so it's all postal voting. So people send a postal vote in. So people have been sending, I think, the 6th of October. They got their postbacks, and it has to be in by today, actually at 6:00. So, people have had that time to get their votes in. So the way it started was, my wife thought I was watching a football game one day, but I was actually watching the news. I was going, oh, that's bull crap. No way. How could you do that? She goes, what are you doing? I go, oh, I'm just watching the news. She goes, you need to get off your ass. And if you're going to act like that, go and do something about it. And I thought, well, the best way I could do it is local council, because, I've been in Geelong my whole life, and I'll give that a go. And I was frustrated with a lot of things that are going on from both, red and blue camps. I mean, they're both as bad as each other, in my opinion. And one of those camps, and I won't say which one, is trying to stack the local council. Surprise, surprise, surprise. So when, state government has something they want to push through, oh, just surprise, surprise, one of these colours is all over the council. I'm not going to say which one, but one of them is. And so I thought, stuff that. I'm going to be independent. And I managing acts and stuff, we're always looking for a way to sell more tickets. I thought, well, I need an acronym. What's an acronym? What am I into? Well, obviously, I've toured a lot. So, tourism. Well, I'm in the entertainment business. Well, the arts, I've had my own battles with mental health and you know, some diagnoses that have caused, you know, some issues in my life. And I've never worked for anybody. I've always been a small business. You know, when I was a kid playing in bands, I bought a PA and charged the band a bit more for the PA. So I've always been a bit of an entrepreneur in that way. So it goes, oh, that spells teams. I'll do that. And it really hit a chord with people, you know, because I'm, you know, like local council is all about, you know, having great roads and, you know, picking up the rubbish at the right time and, you know, which is fine. But I'm not going to pretend or read an article and go, well, you look, you know, if you vote for me, I'm going to improve the roads. Well, the roads need improving, but I'll defer to somebody who knows what they're talking about and then take those things into account as they happen. But this is what I do know, you know. And so when I saw that article yesterday, I just thought, no, this isn't good enough. And I'm going to make some noise. And I copped a bit of flack for it because, you know, when people don't want something to be true, often the first thing to do is to lash out, you know. So it was a great experience to do that. You know, if I'm fortunate enough to get on council, there'll be a lot more of that. But yeah, that's what I'm standing for. And I've had so much, my inbox is blown up from people saying, we support you, you know. And so, you know, it's like they say, politics, it's rock music for ugly people. And, you know, so maybe I'll have a chance. Who knows?
I've never heard that before. Politics is rock music for ugly people.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, come on.
It's great.
Josh Frydenberg's a good, yeah, but come on. He's not going to have the attention of Triple M or something like that. So, you know, and that, look, and getting onto council for me is like, you know, just be who you are, because most people are out there, you know, talking the way they want to talk to their mates and their girlfriends and girls are out there and they're talking in a language that they can't talk on social media, or they're very choosy about who they say things in front of in the fear of offending somebody. Yeah. Well, if you're not an offensive person, you don't have a bad bone in your body, how can you be offensive because you say something that's incorrect? And politics is for ugly people. You know, and if you try and sex it up, you get, you know, they'd shoot you down anyway. So, you know, for me, it's getting on there. I mean, good. I know your good friends and great mate of mine, Paulie Fennick, you know, he's been shooting out some, you know, vote for Stangel. He'll get you out of lockdown. I go, oh, I don't know if I can get you out of lockdown, but I'll edit that bit out. But, you know, I think people, it's time. Yeah. This is just my opinion. I think a lot of the reason that we've got ourselves into trouble, especially in Victoria, being in the amazing position we are, we're an island where we have the power to stop any virus coming in, really. If we had made the right decision straight away, in hindsight, that seems easy. But we have the power to be in a better position than anybody else. So why are we acting like, you know, we're in so much trouble? And every time we want to have some civil liberty, and I suppose in Queensland it might be the case, but in Victoria, every time you say that, somebody go, what about Spain? What about France? What about America? I'll go, okay, well, we're not Spain, we're not France, we're not America. Let's be sensible. Let's do what we have to do to protect the people that need protecting. But, you know, look, this is tragic. A guy that used to play in another band when I toured, you know, in the 90s, committed suicide 2 weeks ago. And I only found out yesterday. Now, you know, this guy was, you know, a bit of a loner and stuff like that. And, you know, but, you know, he was okay. But then, you know, 2 weeks ago, he commits suicide. Why? You know? And there's so many stories in Melbourne of people that have done things like that. And it becomes political. Oh, no, no, there might be more people that have rung the helpline that are depressed, but, you know, they haven't actually killed themselves. It's like, what's that about? Like, that's political. That's not the real world that we all live in. And to be honest, I'm sick of it. My wife is sick of me being sick of it. So that's why I decided to make a start and see how I go. And look, being real may not work, but I mean, one of my heroes is Jackie Lambie. I really, you know, I don't always agree with her politics, but geez, I like who she is because she says awesome. It how it is, you know? So
I think you're a voice of reason, Michael. I think it needs to be said because we're over the whole age of fake news. And pretty much it seems to me like standard politics is almost bordering on fake news because it's not real. And we're looking for authenticity right now. I know a few people that have committed suicide since March. I think we know 12 people.
Oh,
and I think that the media can't actually report on the real numbers, because I think if everyone knew what really happened, they'd totally freak out. And we're facing this avalanche of mental health challenges, which brings me to your vlog, 3 Months to Live.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Okay.
I love it, because I had 3 tumors cut out of my thyroid 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I got to that same point. Oh God, here he comes. I'm going to be Zoom bombed here.
Oh, Zoom bombed. Who better to Zoom bomb than Manny?
Zoom bomb.
Hey, brother, how you going?
I'm going well, mate. How's yourself?
I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good down here, surviving slowly.
Oh,
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah, we were just talking about the 3 Months to Live vlog. It's amazing, Michael. And I'm curious to get your thoughts on how people can actually use your tricks to help them through the mental health shit that they're going to be facing because of what's happened this year.
Well, look, that's a huge question. And the answer is that everybody's so different. But Manny, being a Greek boy like myself, would know about, I didn't even realize that I was practicing a thing called Stoicism. And, the ancient Greeks and Romans used to practice Stoicism. And what is that? And in a nutshell, it's the want to be a good man. And how you go about doing it, rather than just talking about it, just be a good man. And there was a Roman guy called Marcus Aurelius who was a great emperor, and he went through, coincidentally, a pandemic, just like we are now. And I read a lot about him when I was sick, and then I sort of picked it back up when this pandemic. Oh, that's right, Marcus Aurelius. Look, Carpe Diem, my tattoo there, and I'm filled with those kind of Greek signs and things like that, because I really embraced what, democracy was meant to be. It's meant to be a voice for the people. And down in Victoria, I don't know if it's a voice for the people. It's a voice for a political agenda, in my opinion. Look, I watch ABC and I watch Sky News, and they both make me angry because they're just so pig-headed to go from red or blue, and they tell a story in a different way, but what actually happened. And there's just not enough of that at the moment. And so whatever way I can stand up for that, I'll give it a go. I'll try,
Well, look, anyone who's watching this, get onto 3 Months to Live. It's a cracking vlog.
Oh, thank you.
Because it's great to get your mindset sorted. It really is.
Yeah.
And that, I think I got to that same point where I thought, well, I'm going to die anyway, so I may as well make the most of however long I'm going to be here.
Yeah.
And that mindset change was key in my recovery, key in Manny's recovery, dealing with me. And so, like anyone who's watching this, it's such a great vlog. So look, Michael, it's been really great to hear your thoughts today. I have loved our conversation. I love that it's so authentic, that you actually give a shit to tell it like it is. And I think we need more people like that.
Yeah.
So yeah. Look, good luck with the elections. I've got everything crossed for you. I reckon it'd be great to have that happen. Great to look on the resume.
Yeah.
And look, we look forward to, when this is all done, seeing you maybe coming up to Queensland to do some.
Oh, I'd love to come up. Don't worry. I dream about it every night.
Come on up, Michael Stangel.
That'd be good fun.
Look, take care. Look, we're thinking of you down there. Good luck with the elections. And Michael Stangel, thanks for adding your voice to this conversation today.
Oh,
Cheers, my friend.
Hey, Manny. Talk to you soon, brother.